Hi everyone, and welcome back to Attic Train 769. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a factual video here on 5 different locomotives on my layout. Now don't freak out if the road numbers aren't exactly the same. These are just the models I have of each of these class of locomotives, but today we're going to be doing a video on my top 5 favorite retired or active or be getting ready to become active steam excursion stars. Some of these in these videos you're going to see that are retired, that have no outlook of coming back to being a steam excursion star. Some of these are running currently or just got running in the past 10 years or undergoing restoration right now. So I hope you guys like today's video. I know you guys like my top 5 favorite locomotives, so we're going to do this one and see how this turns out. Let's try to get this one up to at least half of the views of what my other top 5 video had. My other top 5 videos got 2.3K right now as we're speaking. Let's try to get this to 1.3K. So let's go ahead and get the first locomotive rolling here, and we'll get it up here and reveal it to you. We're going to start from number 1 to number 5. Rolling in here at spot number 1 is Norfolk and Western Class J 611. I know this isn't the 611, so just bear with me. It's the only model I got of the Class J. It's an MTH model. But we're going to talk about the 611 here today. Commonly known as the Spirit of Roanoke and the Queen of Steam. It was a Norfolk and Western Class J 484 Northern streamlined locomotive. This baby was built in 1950 by the Norfolk and Western in the East End shops in Roanoke, Virginia. It was one of the last mainline passenger steam locomotives to ever be built in the United States. Luckily, this guy was able to get 2 restorations in its lifetime after being retired from revenue service. First rebuild was 1981 to 1982, and the most recent rebuild was 2014 to 2015. In 1982, the number 611 was restored for the Norfolk and Southern Railway for its steam program. N&W successor, Norfolk and Southern. This locomotive became the mainline star of the Norfolk and Southern steam program, pulling excursion trains throughout the eastern United States. But unfortunately, everything comes to an end in 1994. Due to insurance liabilities and costs, led Norfolk and Southern to end the steam program, once again retiring the 611 and sending her back to static display at the Virginia Museum of Transportation. But not all hope was lost. In 2013, the Virginia Museum of Transportation helped raise $3.5 million to restore the 611 to operating condition after a year of restoration work at the North Carolina Transportation Museum in Spencer, North Carolina. The locomotive returned to excursion service in mid-2015. In 2017, the 611 was designated as a state's official steam locomotive. In 2019, 2021, and 2022, you could visit the Norfolk and Western 611 at the Strasburg Railroad in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, just right outside of Lancaster. They do little short tourist trains there, and the 611 was lucky enough to get on there. Now, I don't know if it's going to be back there in 2023, but we'll see. But yeah, this takes spot number 1. Let's move on to spot number 2. Let me get this guy out of the way, get the next one, and we'll be right back. right, taking in spot number 2 is Nickel Plate and Road's Berkshires. Now this is going to be a 2-for-1 special here because you had Nickel Plate and Road 759 and Nickel Plate and Road 765. The Nickel Plate Road 759, that guy in 1967, a New York broker, Ross E. Rowland, made a deal that would return 759 to service for steam-powered fan trips, hosted by Rowland's High Iron Company. 769 was chosen for restoration. Rowland had previously operated Canadian Pacific 462 locomotives 1238 and 1286. The Norfolk and Western 759 was taken to the Norfolk and Western Railroad's former Nickel Plate and Road roundhouse in Ohio, the same place where Nickel Plate and Road 759 was last serviced after a short restoration. It pulled an excursion service for the High Iron Company on August 30th, 1968, when she pulled a 15-car excursion to Buffalo, New York. In 1969, the 759 was painted blue and gold for the special train celebrating the 100th anniversary of driving the Golden Spike, dubbed the Golden Spike Centennial Limited, and it would take 759 as far as Omaha, Nebraska. After returning home from the Golden Spike Limited, 759 was returned to her Nickel Plate and Road livery and ran 2 excursions for Steamtown, one of which in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Steamtown's future home. In 1970, the High Iron, excursions from Hoboken over the old Erie Main Line. She did that one as well. A few excursions over the Boston and Maine and central Vermont in late 1973, and she was placed into storage again. 759 was test fired in 1975, and in 1977 some repairs were made to get the 759 legally operational, but after a boiler flue failure during the hydrostatic test, it was decided that she would remain on static display at Steamtown. But I'll tell you what happened with this. So in Rouse Point, New York, it was in Rouse Point, New York for the winter in 1973, and a D&H employees had neglected to completely drain the 759's boiler with the left water in it, which caused it to freeze and caused damage to the boiler's flue tubes. As a result, Steamtown sued D&H for its damages. So it was 759 would join the rest of the Steamtown collection in 1984. So sad that we can't see this guy run again, but we still do have 765 running, but we'll go into a little bit of that here while we're at it. So 765, this guy was restored in 1979. So let's get to some history here. So the first restoration, 71 to 1980. 765 ran a bunch of trips actually. This guy in September of 1971, the Nickel Plate Historical Society made a lease to on number 765/767 to restore it to operational status. It's actually a pretty popular locomotive to see. The popularity of operating steam locomotives on a General Railroad system as a marketing tool. They use these as a marketing tool on Class 1s to get people, Class 1 railroads to get people to come in and look at them. Decades after steam was retired, before the merger between Norfolk and Western and Southern Railway, filing firebox problems to the former C&O 2716, they leased 765 in 1982 and would pave the way for the Norfolk and Southern to continue their steam program. This guy in 1993 had accumulated over 115,000 miles of excursion service. So it had some downtime for some overhaul between 1993 and 2006. In March of 2006 ended the long rebuild of the 765, over 15,000 hours and $772,000. She was back up and ready to run. But between 1993 and 2001, the 765 was on static display until complete overhaul was commenced by the FWRHS. Because in 1996, the 2716 C&O required new tubes and flues, so they rather up the money into doing a full restoration on the 765 instead of doing the 2716. And to this day, it is still in excursion services, running excursion services mainly on the east coast of the United States. It's owned by the Fort Wayne Historical Society. Enough on this engine. Let's move into number 3. All right, moving into spot number 3, we'll be looking at C&O Greenbrier Class J3A 484 Northern type locomotive, but C&O called them Greenbriers. I know it's not a 614, trust me, no. But we're going to talk about the 614 today. This is the only model I got. All right, the 614 was built in June of 1948 by the Lima Locomotive Works. The Class J's purpose was to pull express passenger trains, such as the George Washington and the Fast Flying Virginian. It was retired from active service and was preserved by the B&O Railroad Museum, and when the 2101 caught on fire in the Roundhouse fire, Ross Rowland approached the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum about buying/trading for the C&O 614, and between 1979 and 1980, restoration work commenced on making the locomotive operational, and it was used for extensive mainline excursion services, pulling the chassis system special, pulling the family lines, pulling regular just excursions, doing the ACE 6000 project. So this guy had a pretty glorious career. But unfortunately, everything had to come to an end. She was retired in 1997 and is currently on display in Virginia. She was, for many years, kept in Port Clinton, Pennsylvania at the Reading Northern. She was moved in 2011 to the Virginia Transportation Museum because she was on her way to go for a project that never came through for the Greenbrier Presidential Express. In May of 2011, the 614 was again moved to the C&O Railway Heritage Center in Clifton Forge, Virginia. From there, it was repainted in preparation for display for restoration for the Presidential Express. But lack of funds and cooperations with CSX ended that. As of 2022, it is still at Clifton Forge on display, still in the presidential paint scheme. So maybe one day we'll get to see this guy run again, but very doubtful with the way CSX is because Ross Rowland does not want to do CSX. So let's move on to the next one. We'll see you back here at spot number 4. Coming in at spot number 4 is Reading Northern 2102, or Reading 2102. This was originally built as a consolidation engine in 1925, a 280, but demand and wartime regulations, it was rebuilt into a 484 Northern in the Reading's own shops. Ended up being number 2102. Had a couple stints in its career here in excursion service. It retired from revenue service in 1956, but between 1962 and 1964, 2101 pulled the famous Iron Horse Rambles for the Reading Railroads with sister engines 2100 and 2124. After the Rambles, 2102 was sold to its Steam Tours Inc. of Akron, Ohio, pulling fan trips for the next 23 years through various parts of the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Midwest. In 1985, it was sold again to Andy Muller and operating on the Reading, Blue Mountain, and Northern Railroad alongside their 462 Pacific number 425 until its flue ticket expired in 1991. In February of 2016, the locomotive was restored to operating condition and was just completed this year in 2021 in April. We actually went right behind it, so go check that video out. I released that video a couple months ago. Done a review on it, so go check it out. So yeah, this rolling in number 4, Reading 2102. We'll go ahead here and get things moving because this is going to be a long video. I got one more for you, and I don't want to make this too long for you. So let me get out the next engine, and we'll be right back with you. Alright, currently taken in the last spot here, at spot number 5, is the C&O 2716 K4284 Canal. Berkshire type locomotive built in 1943 for the C&O Railroad. This guy had a couple stints of its career. Donated to the Kentucky Railroad Museum in New Haven, Kentucky in 1959. 2716 has been restored to operation service twice since its retirement from the C&O. First in 1981 for the Southern Railway steam program until 1982 with some problems going on with the firebox, and again in 1996 for brief excursions from Fort Wayne for the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Societies before again having its ticket time expire. So this guy's had a lot of troubles over its career, but fortunately the Kentucky Steam Heritage Corporation leased its next steam. They're rebuilding it to operation right now for the third time in its career. As of right now, it's still ongoing. They started in 2016, but we hope to see this guy back on the rails here soon. I do know that once they're done, it will go upstate to the Nantucket Railroad in Connecticut to do some mainline steam excursion tours. But yeah, that concludes today's video here on my top 5 favorite steam excursion stars. I appreciate everybody watching here. We're getting so far and actually pretty quickly here on the channel. Thanks to everybody who subscribes and watches my videos all the time. Really appreciate that. So yeah, make sure you check out Perry's Toy Exchange in Mount Airy, Maryland. He's got some great stuff, not only just trains, but he's got vintage toys. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and we'll see you next time back here at Attic Train 769.